Before we complete this integral, let me point out something that you can't do. Now, it's really tempting to just integrate x squared and get 1/3 x cubed, and integrate e to the x and get e to the x, and call that an answer. Unfortunately, that does not work out. To find the integral of a product of two functions, you can't just integrate those two functions separately. If there was a plus in here and this was a sum of those two functions, then yes, you are allowed to do that, and we would turn that frown upside down. But unfortunately, that is not what we're given here. We're given a product of two functions to integrate. And a pretty common technique to do that is integration by parts. With integration by parts, we need to choose a u and a dv from our original integral. And typically we choose our u so that it will get simpler with differentiation. So in this problem, our only real choice there is going to be u equals x squared. Looking back at our original integral, that leaves us with a dv that is e to the x dx. Now integrating dv to get v, we get that v is also e to the x. Now what we can do is we can rewrite this integral using our integration by parts formula. That's going to give us uv, that's x squared e to the x, minus the integral of v du, that's integral e to the x times 2x dx. Just a bit of simplification, and we've succeeded in integrating by parts if the integral that remains is simpler than the one we started with. And in a sense, this integral that we're left with is simpler. The problem is we're going to need another integration by parts to complete the remaining integral. In this integral, we're going to choose our u equals x, our du is then dx, and we'll choose our dv is e to the x dx, and again, our v is e to the x. Now, leaving this first term by itself, and I'll copy down the minus 2. Now we can rewrite this integral using our integration by parts formula again. That's going to leave us with uv, in this case that's x e to the x, minus the integral of v du. That's the integral of e to the x dx. Now I'll say it again. We've succeeded in integrating by parts if the integral that remains over here is simpler than the integral that we started with. And in this case, the integral we're left with is much simpler. The integral of e to the x is just e to the x. So I'm going to distribute that -2 back through the parentheses, and I'm going to box up that answer, and I'm going to call this problem complete. Okay, I think we should check out the next one.